Dr. Sarah, your brain gal here, and I'm so excited to talk to you about emotional learning. I just had all the feels about this. And actually, that's exactly how we learn better. So we talk a lot about Amy G and Fronnie, but we also haven't really talked about Hip the Hippo. Hip the Hippo is the hippocampus of your brain, responsible for learning and memory. And Hip loves himself some Amy G. The reason is because Amy G actually tells Hip what to remember and what not to remember. Because anytime we feel a really strong emotion, whether it be really happy or really not happy, we're going to learn something better. And where our pathways are going to get stronger. So Hip and Amy G are really awesome connections. So anytime we feel that strong emotion, again, we're going to learn more and learn better. Now, how does Fronnie come into play here? Well, Fronnie is responsible for regulating that emotion from Amy G. So she's watching Amy G pretty closely. And then Fronnie's also responsible for helping to find those memories that Hip is helping you store in your brain. So it's really kind of generating, pulling all the information and putting it all together. So comes into play. Let's just talk about a kid taking a test, right? So Fronnie is responsible for regulating Amy G. So if Amy G is really nervous about this test, Fronnie's got to calm Amy G down and she's got to work really hard. Fronnie then can also help Hip the Hippo be able to learn and remember all those things and pull all the information, right, to be able to apply to that test. So Fronnie can't problem solve, can't think abstractly while she's trying to regulate poor Amy G. So the key here is teaching our kids emotional control so that they're open to learning. And that's just one example. We want to free up Fronnie so Fronnie can problem solve and take that test and not have to regulate Amy G. And there's two strategies you can use to do this. The first would be taco breaths. So we're going to smell the tacos and blow out the candles on a birthday cake. That calms the physiological response in your kid so that they can then, again, use Fronnie to do other things. They can take a couple of those big breaths because our body gets as heightened when we feel anxiety. Our heart starts racing. We start breathing a little bit heavy, just like if we ran around the room. And you can show your kids that. Have them run around the room and then take their pulse and show them that by doing those breaths, they can then calm their pulse down. They'll see the numbers go down. It's a really fun trick. The second emotional control technique is going to be something like counting, like magic 1, 2, 3. Now, you're not going to use this for something like at school with taking the test, but you can use this for something like a 5-year-old maybe kicking and screaming because you told them no. If you've told that 5-year-old no and they are screaming and kicking, you can count them. You can say that's a 1. They keep going. You say that's a 2. They keep going. That's a 3. Take 5. If they're 5 years old, they'll take 5 minutes. And if you're interested in that strategy, go look up 1, 2, 3 magic. It's one of my favorites. But remember, we're always thinking, what does this little brain need to learn and what can I teach this little brain? At that moment, we need to teach emotional control and regulation. And that's why we're counting them to help them calm their body down, to help them get control, help Fronnie figure this out. Because then we want to talk to them once they're calmed down about what and why we made a certain decision and help them think through that process. But Fronnie is not going to be able to participate with you when she's helping Amy G. But when she's not, then we can have Fronnie and Hip and Amy G all on the same page for learning that whole response. So those are just two of the ways that you can use Amy G's style and what you know about the brain to increase learning. One is to help with emotional regulation, that combination between Amy G and Fronnie, so that your kid can be open to learning. And 2 is just to make things fun and engaging and emotional so that Hip decides to remember it and they can learn it better. Such fun brain tricks for today. I hope that you've used these and that you help to grow your children's brains just a little bit more today.